Hey guys, and welcome to our brand new channel, Port City Pet. I'm Joe Fallon of Port City Python and Port City Pet, and behind the camera is Melissa, and we're excited to bring you a brand new channel, and we're gonna be talking about my favorite species, the corn snake. So this here is an adult female. So I wanted to give you guys an idea of what an adult corn snake looks like. So as you can see, they can get 3 to 5 feet, but it's a pretty manageable animal and makes for a great beginner pet, both for their handleability as well as their ease of care. So I'm gonna go over some of the basics. One of the awesome things about corn snakes is that they come in all different colors. This here is a ghost tessera, and this girl's just a yearling. And they're super easy to keep because they range all the way from New Jersey all the way down to the Florida Keys. So that's the whole east coast of the United States. And quite frankly, a little bit easier and more hardy than some of your exotic species like say a ball python, even though those can be great pets as well. So let's start off with what do you need to keep as far as humidity goes. Humidity is really not a big issue with these guys. I like to keep it above 30% for sure. In the winter that can be a little bit difficult, so maybe put something like a hide full of sphagnum moss or something that will bump up that humidity for you. So what we're aiming for with these guys is an 85-degree hotspot. And that can be done pretty easily in a 10-gallon tank with something like an 8-watt heat mat that you can get from any supply store. And these can just stick under the enclosure as well as on the side, depending on what works better. We have some customers that when they put it on the bottom, they're not getting that perfect 85-degree hotspot on top. You also want to make sure that you get a thermostat for this. And that can be done in a bunch of different ways, but I like the Jumpstart thermostats are just fine, even though they're a cheaper one, and something like the Reptile Basics thermostat is great. So this is a good example as far as this little guy right here would actually be the perfect size for this enclosure. I wouldn't start like this, but the rule of thumb is generally the length of the snake is ideal, but at least 3/4. So this little guy would be perfect for this 10-gallon tank. And even though babies are much smaller, I wouldn't worry about putting a baby in a larger enclosure like this 10-gallon tank. So unlike other species that if you put them in too large of an enclosure, they may stop eating or be really uncomfortable, corn snakes do pretty well, even if the enclosure is bigger than they need as far as when they're babies. So if you want to go a little bit bigger and it can last a little bit longer, that's fine with me. Just put some more hides in there and allow them a nice layer of substrate to burrow in. So what enclosure you pick is really important because quite frankly, all these animals are escape artists, especially corn snakes. Corn snakes, milk snakes, king snakes, you gotta be careful because they're really athletic and they're semi-arboreal, which means that they like to climb up. A lot of times you'll see your corn snake climbing on the rim of your enclosure. So we're trying to look for something that is a sliding top, like this one right here. This is made by Zilla, and I really prefer this. This is a 10-gallon, and when you close it, it actually latches. So you make sure that you have a secure enclosure, which is honestly the most important part. About 50% of our customers, even though we go through the spiel every time, lose their animals because they're keeping them in inadequate enclosures. So please, this is very, very important, and it's really important to the health of your animal. And now we're gonna get to substrate. So what we use is aspen bedding. One of the convenient things about aspen bedding is the light coloration so you can see when the snake goes to the bathroom. It's also great as far as the shredded chips in order for the animal to burrow. And this here is our Port City Pet aspen bedding. So if you guys want to check that out, it's not up for sale just yet, but we're gonna start shipping it soon. So keep on the lookout for that. What I'm looking for is about 2 to 3 inches of substrate. I mean, really, the more the merrier as far as they're going to burrow a lot of time when they're young. When corn snakes are young, they're really vulnerable in the wild. So they really like to hide out and make sure that nothing can go out and eat them. So I put way too much substrate in there. All right, so now we have about 3 inches of aspen bedding and we're gonna add our heat mat. See, it has this 3M tape on the back side of it in order to stick it to the side of the tank or the bottom of the tank, depending on the temperature. So what I'm gonna do for now, just for demonstration, I'm just gonna stick it under here, and then that's easy. And then as far as your probes go, when you hook up your thermostat, it needs to read the temperature somewhere. So there are little slots to put the probe through in this top, and you're gonna put it somewhere where the snake won't necessarily wrap around it, but somewhere where it'll give a good temperature read. And you also want to get something like a heat gun just to make sure that the temperature is always right, because when you're keeping reptiles, that's probably one of the most important parts, is monitoring that temperature. And even things like heat pads and thermostats, they can break or they can fail, and sometimes when they fail they actually get really hot, and that could really hurt your animal, so keep an eye on that. And now next we are going to put a hide, which is super important. Corn snakes love to hide, and listen, they may not always use this because all of this substrate is going to be like a hide for them, and they're going to burrow all over it. When they're young, you may not even see them out that often, and they'll only come out at night. But put some hides in there. The more the merrier with this as well. Whenever it comes to snakes, the busier you make their enclosure, the more, especially with corn snakes, they will utilize anything you put in there. If you want to fill this thing up with fake plants, go for it.
Skeletons, pirate ships,
with smoke coming out of the eyes, whatever you want. You can really go crazy, and there's so many awesome reptile products out there to make your enclosure one of a kind. Also keep in mind that you can do things like naturalistic, but we're starting off basic so that you get an idea, because at least in my opinion, when you're first starting to keep reptiles, you want to start and know that you can just do the basics, and then you can kind of go on from there. And next up, we're gonna of course have a water bowl. So you want the water bowl to be big enough that the animal can fit in the whole bowl so they can have a good soak. And I'm just gonna bury that in the substrate. And an active corn snake will probably knock this aspen in there every once in a while. So just go in and scoop it out as he messes up all your fine work that you've done. So next up is greenery, or you can also do branches and anything like that. Corn snakes are semi-arboreal, which means that they're going to climb. And ideally, I don't have one on hand. Actually, I'm using them all in my enclosures and stuff like that. But hey, if you want to do this, these are just from the dollar store. So no need to go out and get those expensive reptile specific ones, because let's be honest, they're the same exact thing. And these are actually sturdy enough. I know that may be surprising that your corn snake will be able to climb up on there. So this is a very, very basic enclosure, and it will be perfect for your new corn snake. Now let's get a baby corn snake and see what he does in here. So like I said before, they come in so many different colors and patterns. This here is a beautiful snow tessera, and this is probably more of the size that you'll get at something like a reptile show or from a breeder. They hatch out actually about half this size, which I know can be super intimidating for some, but a calm animal like this, even a child can hold. And this little guy is gonna go in this new enclosure, and let's see what he does. Bam, let's go. Climb, be free. Let's see if he goes right to burrowing right away. Oh, he's just checking it out. But as you can see, an animal this size is going to explore every single part of it. And he's going to eat just fine despite the fact that he's in a large enclosure. And corn snakes, one of the greatest things about keeping corn snakes is the fact that they are great eaters. And they're not only great eaters, but they typically eat rodents right away, as well as frozen thawed rodents. So you don't have to mess with live animals, which may hurt your animal, as well as, you may not be okay with seeing an animal or a mouse get eaten from live and being constricted and all that, and I do not blame you. So I'm glad that the animals that we work with and that we're able to provide people are eating frozen thawed readily. So I wanted to show off my beautiful A-male tessera corn snake. And thank you guys so much for watching. I love making these videos, and I can't wait to make more videos, especially about these awesome pets, that you guys can pick up and you can be confident with, and it can be a really great first experience for a first-time snake owner. Something like a corn snake is perfect for its hardiness, its handleability, eventually its size. It's something that's handleable, but it's not too big and it's not too flighty. And if you want to know more about the ins and outs of breeding these guys, as well as the different color mutations and all that thing, we go into a lot more detail on the Port City Pythons podcast channel. So if you want to check out some of our corn snake videos over there, we have a whole playlist full of corn snake videos, and you can get a lot of information. For here, we're just gonna go through the basics, and I'm so glad you came and hung out with us, and I hope you have confidence now in keeping your own corn snake. And I'll let you know in the future how to buy corn snakes, where to look, and
how
all
to
the
feed them over time, all all the different ins and outs that goes through keeping your special pet that you got to take home. Thank you guys so much for watching, and if you made it this far,
you're on the team.